can assure you nobody's taking a hat for this year.
But I hope he will retire after he loses.
There won't be another coach. I'm impressed with everybody but him.
It's because they're scared that they may be wrong.
Fully capable of surpassing all of them.
I'm going to give her a run for her money.
I'm coming to win. I'm not coming for fun.
Fair and unfortunate.
He's going to come with losses. It's not the end of the world.
Need for a black curtain backdrop, and I get it.
Bodybuilding is my control within chaos.
My conditioning kills.
Look, you got a really exclusive interview because I ain't been saying none of this shit, yo. I've been holding my tongue on the internet.
Yes, guys, we're back to Monday Night Muscle. Actually, Monday, it's 6 p.m. every 6 p.m. UK time, which means it's, 10 a.m. Pacific. It's something else Eastern. I don't know, whatever time zone it is. But I do know I've got my co-host here, Wendy Fortino, 8-time Olympian.
Yep.
It is 8-time, not 9-time. Okay, 8-time. Wendy, you were giving me so many compliments before I clicked record.
You want more? You want the compliments? I know.
I want them.
I was just saying that, I just started working with you and you're so on top of everything. I'm used to orchestrating everything, coordinating all the guests, and you are just so, first of all, let me just say, I think from the outside perspective, somebody doesn't have to be in my shoes to see this, but at every show, you are breaking the news, you're on top of what's going on, and it is honestly such a pleasure to be able to join you in this mission that we have, because I wouldn't think of anyone else I would rather be doing this with other than you. So,
look, I really, that's very kind of me. Very appreciated. Well, look, today we got a good one because, so as you guys know, every single episode we record on Sunday and we drop 24 hours later. As always, a recap of the shows from the weekend and maybe some news in between. But we always have a special co-host, a guest co-host, to make this a triple threat. And we'll be unveiling the guest co-host in about 3 minutes. What we do have as well, we got the Detroit Pro recap. And there's only one person I needed. Fortunately, I couldn't get through for this, but I have got Iain VALLIERE, who was part of the commentating team. He will be giving us the recap of the Detroit Pro Show from his car. I believe he is leaving Detroit, but he did say he'll be jumping on in about 5 minutes. And then I've managed to get Wesley Vissers. So Wesley Vissers will be jumping on for about 5 to 10 minutes from a restaurant somewhere eating in Detroit before he flies back to Holland tomorrow. And maybe, just maybe, I'm going to throw it out there, we might have Ryan Terry at the end. I'm not 100% sure. I know he's very busy, but if he doesn't come on tonight, he will try and come on a future one. So we've got plenty there.
Yeah.
Did you catch the Detroit show, Wendy?
Oh, I have been following. I follow the Detroit Pro, and I definitely have a lot of thoughts. I have some insight, and I guess fresh out of the gate, we'll just say, coming 1 week off of the Arnold. Excuse me for my voice. I caught a cold while I was at the Arnold. I think a lot of people probably did. Coming 1 week after the Arnold, I think that a lot of us were expecting to see some of the athletes jump into the Detroit Pro. And, we knew that, we thought Mike Sommerfeld was going to do it. And then that didn't end up panning out. I was happy to see Wesley Vissers step on that stage, but there were a lot of people in the lineups that kind of came out of nowhere for me that I wasn't really planning to see. So it was a couple of kind of newer lineups, but the main thing that I will say is I was just surprised that there weren't more athletes that came from the Arnold straight into the Detroit. Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, 100%. I was I don't want to use the word disappointed. I did hope Nick Walker would be doing the show. In fact, wait there. Let me bring in our guest co-host. I could see him waiting in the wings under the name CIA Black Ops. Who is that? That is, of course, Lee Priest.
Of course. When people try and pick up on your phone in the airport, that's what they get.
Lee, buddy, you all good?
Very good, yeah. Not too bad. A little bit under the weather, but I always get that way from expos and long trips on planes, so, yeah.
Fresh from the Young LA stand to the Arnolds.
Oh, hell yes. That was a crazy stand.
Shaking hands, kissing babies over there.
Oh, yes. And then thanks. Yeah, Wendy says, come down and get a drink, Lee. That won't be a problem. 2 hours later, standing at the rain booth.
I was the bad. Oh, the rain drink. Oh, yeah. I thought you meant like a drink. Yeah, no, he
Yeah, a
did.
drink. I come to get a drink, yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? You had unlimited supply of rain drinks, and we loved having you. It's funny, so I have to say, Lee came over just to say hi. He just like, oh, I'm gonna, because obviously it was harder for me to go to the Young LA booth to say hi to him because there was no way I was gonna do that. He came over just to say hi. He just stands there, and the line starts forming on one end to the other out the door. And he's standing there at the rain booth and he's like, okay. And he just stands there signing autographs, taking photos. And I was like, okay. So my boss is like, is he okay? We had our security ready to take him out, but he's like, oh, I'm good. He stayed there for like an hour just with the lines out the door. It was kind of funny.
Well, you can't leave because, like her boss says, you can go when you want. I said, yeah, but see those people at the end of the line, they'll be like, fucking asshole, he just left, blah, 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 blah. So
that's it, man. Negativity travels 100 times faster than any positive messages.
Doesn't it? It's crazy, that.
Lee, before I bring on our guest to talk about Detroit Pro, did you catch much of the Detroit show last night?
Only like bits from like what I seen on Instagram and different stuff like that, but didn't actually watch the live. I just caught bits and pieces of it. So, yeah.
What do you think of the winner, Moh Foda?
I thought he looked good. Yeah, Blessing also looked good, but I think Blessing's legs probably let him down that little bit, but he looked good. And then I just started to stir people up because when they had the King of Detroit and Wesley won,
I knew this was coming.
I said, get rid of the Classic. Let's just go back to Open. Get rid of 212. Get rid of Classic. And people are like, but we need Classic. I said, obviously we don't. If the Classic, because back when I was competing, we had the bigger waist guys like Dorian and Nasser and that, but even before then you had the Barry DeMays, you had the Bob Parises. So there was Classic guys intertwined with the Open classes. So let's just get rid of everyone gets a fucking trophy. If you're not good enough to get a pro card, you're not going to get one. So just go back to Open bodybuilding because we've proved the 212s can go in the Open. They've won the Mr. Olympia with Derek and Hardy and, Sean Clarita's done well. So let's just go back to one bodybuilding class. Look, in the amateurs, you want to keep it down there, good. But once you get pro, no, you got to be the best of the best, not just the best of a shit bunch on that day and you get a pro card.
Okay, but Lee, what did you think? Did you agree with the final decision, Wesley overcoming Muhammad?
Well, that was a fan's choice. It wasn't judged. I'm sure if it was judged by the judges, Moh would have won going on bodybuilding standard. Might have been close, but that was a fan's sort of decision. Or sometimes I just think the fans like to go for something different. So I like to know what the judges would really have placed them if it was actually judged going by bodybuilding standards. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's bring in our guest who was part of the commentary team at Detroit Pro. And he did it, in fact, get his top off because the fans did peer pressure him to do a bit of guest posing. And that is Iain VALLIERE. Now, I see here he is joining in a moment. I believe he's driving at the moment. He just left Detroit, so we'll just wait for him to jump on. But Lee, before he does jump on, if you were judging it, that King of Detroit, you were giving it to Moh over Wesley?
I only saw like one or two pictures. I'd have to actually see pose for pose, and who knows, I might give it to Wesley, the shape and the symmetry and conditioning, but I'd actually have to see him go through every pose. I only saw like one or two poses and him holding up the trophy type thing or whatever it was. So yeah, I'd have to watch it carefully again to see.
Well, talk about somebody who was watching it carefully. Yeah. This is the man who was behind the commentary desk and even got peer pressured to get his top off. Please, the Detroit crowd. I tell you what, I think the Detroit crowd was at its loudest when Iain VALLIERE decided to hit a few poses. Iain, how you doing, buddy?
Peer pressure's a bitch, So,
bro,
it was. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go away. Go on. What are you saying?
I was just saying, no. The crowd was the show at Detroit. They put on a great show there. The crowd, for all the athletes, and obviously, when I got peer pressure to take my shirt off, they were an awesome crowd. So it was a great show for sure.
Well, I was just watching Iain on the bro chat one. I was very offended that Paul wouldn't talk to you if you had your dick sucked.
I was a little offended too, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I had it done to me 10 years ago. He still speaks to me. You'll be okay.
All right, away from the dick sucking. Iain, man.
Okay.
I want for a moment. Iain, I want to talk to you about Detroit because, of course, once again, it was another successful Detroit show. I saw the viewerships on through our channels. I think it's hit over 120,000 views. I don't know what the numbers peaked at, but once again, it was all over social media. I want to start with the open division. Moh Foda, he won Chicago in 2024. He's got his next win, and he's now off to Olympia. You were at the commentary desk, and I just gotta say, mate, your commentary was absolutely on point as always. But talk to me about Moh Foda versus Blessing. That's what it was down to. How did you have it?
Yeah, no, I think they made the right call here. I mean, Moh overall was just had the best combination of muscularity with conditioning. You know, I don't think really anyone in this lineup was perfect. You know, in that top group, but you know, Moh brought a good level of muscularity, good level of conditioning, and I think really where he beat Blessing was just on the conditioning side, especially from the back. And Blessing had a little bit of control issues with his midsection, which definitely hurt him, even though he was out muscling Moh in a few poses. The midsection definitely did hurt him in a few shots. So.
And with Moh, look, we saw him get that win now, and now of course he is Olympia qualified. I mean, and now we can start looking ahead to the Olympia for him. I mean, when we look at the guys who competed last year, where do you have Moh Foda in regards to, like, if you give me names of guys, which tier is he currently in, and what's a realistic goal for him going into the Olympia 2026?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, look, Moh's got some great shots, but he still has some parts like from the back that he needs to work on. You know, I see him kind of falling in the crowd of, you know, the Jordan Hutchinson, Tours, those kind of guys, you know, like in that 10 to 15 range, I think is kind of where he's falling right now. You know, if he can make some improvements on that back, you know, he's so good from the front and the side. His front lat is amazing. Front double's awesome. Most muscular is incredible. Both his side shots are good. You know, his back lat isn't bad, but he's losing definitely some ground on the depth and width as well on that back and the back double, which, you know, is a weak point that, you know, against tougher lineups like when you get to the Olympia is going to be something that he's going to have to overcome, right?
And let's say he just makes those improvements to his back. I mean, that was said from the start that was the area he had to improve last year. He made the improvements, but still more needs to be made. If he does perfect that back, how far does he leap in regards to the current lineup?
I think if his conditioning is a little improved, you know, gets into the condition that he needs to be, you know, Olympia level top 10 conditioning. So let's say that is where it needs to be, because that's definitely more controllable. If that's where it needs to be, in the back improves a little. I kind of see him more in the group of like Antonio Burton, you know, kind of in that range, you know, like a 7 to 10, 7 to 11. But I mean, it's also not a small feat trying to bring up your back in a substantial amount between now and the Olympia. So, you know, but I think any changes he can make there are gonna only help him, and then improving that conditioning a little bit. But either way, he's a, you know, very good bodybuilder with a lot of really good strengths, and I think he's gonna make an impact in that Olympia lineup no matter what.
Lee, what's your thoughts on? We spoke Moh Foda about a little bit, but we've seen him now at the Arnold, where he did say he kind of missed his peak, and now of course we saw him at Detroit to get the win. What's your thoughts on Moh Foda's potential?
Well, it's probably the same as Iain. I was thinking anywhere from 7th to 10th place. He becomes in really good condition, but then, you know, it's bodybuilding. You never know to the day to show who's going to turn up. So, you know, if we're going to start predicting the Olympia now, God knows what. But yeah, realistically, I could probably see him anywhere from 7th to 10th, somewhere in there. But yeah, but like I said, until the Olympia comes around, they get all on stage. It's like, you know, I like seeing all the photos leading up to it, but you can have a photo 2 days before looking shredded, turn up on the day looking shit. So until I see him on stage, predictions are fun, but, you know, I don't really go that far into them.
Oh God, we just lost Iain.
I have a question for Iain really fast. So coming off of the Arnold, he took 7th, correct? I think he took 7th.
Oh, and we lost him. Is Iain back?
No.
Yeah, sorry. So where I am on the highway here, my reception's not great, so it's kind of in and out. So I apologize.
It's all right. Wendy's got a question for you.
Yeah. Moh Foda, he took 7th at the Arnold, and I was just wondering if you had him on your radar, because I heard from from a source that he apparently kind of missed the mark on his dialing in. I guess something happened with his coach or something like that. So I was wondering, did you have him on your radar heading into the Detroit Pro?
Sorry, I missed who you're talking about here. Is this about Moh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Either in first or second, top 3 going out. My apologies for breaking up. You guys are all frozen for me, but I don't know. But we all had him in our top. So I think am I breaking up or?
Yeah, man, you're breaking pretty bad at the moment.
Try again.
we spoke to a man on the moon on a landline back in the 70s.
Okay, Lee, I'm going to pass the baton to you. Passing the baton to you, Lee.
Well, I think a lot of people did, because when we saw those photos of him, even like the show Suki and Fuad do, when we saw those photos of Moh doing the lat spread, and I think everyone had him on their radar just from those photos where his conditioning looked good in the front lat spread and different poses that he put out. So I don't think anyone counted him out. I think everybody had him going in there as a contender for a good placing. Whether winning it or not, I don't know if it's going to be that high, but I think everyone, once he put out a few photos, I don't think they were counting him out, that's for sure.
I'm just messaging Iain because he's saying his reception isn't good at the moment. So just try again.
It's Canada. What do you expect?
If you try again one more time, let's see. If you try again one more time, and then we'll try and jump to about Wesley Vissers before we lose him again. But Lee, let me ask you about Blessing, because Blessing has always been one where I remember seeing my New York Pro all those years ago, where he won that show. Here we go. We got Iain back.
Yeah.
I might throw his question to Iain before we lose him.
Okay.
Iain,
welcome back.
Let's try that again.
Okay, Iain, we're going to go straight to a question about Blessing. What do you think? What's next for Blessing? Because he wants to get back to Olympia. What does he need to do to be competitive to get his win?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Blessing is kind of the thing he's been the most inconsistent with over his career is just getting that conditioning nailed in. I think he's got a lot of muscle in most places. His upper body from the waist up, he's got oodles of muscle. The legs still need some improvement, but we need to be realistic with where he's at in his career and how much those legs are really going to improve at this point. So I think the biggest thing he can really do to, get the best chance of getting back to the Olympia is just going to be improving that condition, really coming in super, super shredded. And I think that's going to, and controlling that midsection as well will help him. But I think the conditioning, especially once you get into tougher lineups and especially to get to the Olympia level, I think the conditioning is going to be his biggest thing that's going to need to be worked on, right?
Is that something you agree, Lee? With actually the same question about Blessing.
Yeah, pretty much, because he's, it's always his conditioning and that, and like Iain said, his legs let him down a little bit, and how much can he bring them up? Maybe can't bring them up any more now than what they already are. So, but I think his conditioning at the Detroit was probably the best we've seen him in a long, long time. So, as far as conditioning goes, I think that's probably one of the best Blessings we've ever seen. So he did a good job.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess a good show, because I know Blessing's doing a UK show, which I guess when you're up against people like Jacked, Martin's on the list anyway, Brandon, Moh Foda, I mean, maybe a top 5 finish. But then a few weeks later, there is FIBO. And maybe that could be the ideal show for him to secure a qualification to Olympia, when the reality might be majority European competitors at FIBO. I mean, Iain, when it comes to shows for Blessing, is that the type of shows he needs to be targeting to realistically get a ticket to Olympia?
Yeah, no, I think that's probably a better fit. Like, obviously, the Arnold UK is going to be very difficult for him to win there. I mean, you're going against some guys that are, coming off Arnold wins and top 5 Olympians. That's a tough show for anyone to win, not just Blessing. So yeah, I think someone like FIBO, if the lineup's right, and he, has a few more weeks to improve the conditioning, and maybe come in a little fuller in the legs. I don't know how much that will help, but maybe a little added fullness there. But I think it's just a little bit of lacking muscularity. But either way, improving that conditioning. I do agree with Lee. This is probably some of the better conditioning we've seen Blessing in a while. But that doesn't mean it's the best conditioning he's capable of achieving. So I still think there is another level there in terms of the conditioning that he needs to achieve to really, win a show and get himself back to the Olympia, right?
Iain, I have a question for you. So I feel like, this happens with a lot of bodybuilders. They start their career, they jump to the top, and then there's a few years where, there's a lot of high expectations, and then maybe they let people down. Do you feel like it's difficult for a bodybuilder to, be pigeonholed as, oh, Blessing's going to come on stage, like we don't really know what we're going to get? In this case, he came out and he showed us a version of him that we haven't, that we were really all impressed with. Like, what would you say to a bodybuilder who like feels like, oh my gosh, I'm getting pigeonholed, I've been at it for a long time, I'm really waiting for my breakout moment? Like, what advice would you give to a bodybuilder in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy, obviously, especially with, all the noise we get on social media these days with things. It's tough to avoid all that, right? And stay the course. I think one thing Blessing is pretty good at is kind of, sticking in his own world and not paying attention to that noise too much. And I could tell when he was there yesterday on stage, he was having fun. He was happy to be there. And he knew that, this was a good version of Blessing. So I think he's really just focused on that and continuing to make the improvements that he's been making. So, there's really no like perfect answer to this, other than just trying to stay away from the noise and stay the course and have that vision in your mind of what's the physique and what's the ideal physique that I want to bring and what would be a win for me on that stage and for me to accomplish, right?
Nah, I mean, look, I want to move away from the open for a moment. I'm going to throw this question to Lee first before I go to Iain. And it's Wesley Vissers. And look, I'm not going to bother going into the fact that, look, let's talk about Wesley Vissers, Detroit. He was the obvious winner in the classic physique division. He got the win, and now he's king of Detroit. But what really matters now is the excitement that builds for 2 weeks' time. It's been third time lucky. We are going to see Wesley Vissers versus Mike Sommerfeld. From what you've seen in Wesley at the Arnold, Ohio, and now in Detroit, what chances do you give Wesley to go and beat Mike?
Is that for me or Iain?
Yeah, that's for you, mate. For you, Lee.
I was from what I saw, like the lead up to the Arnold, and I saw the pictures of Mike and Wesley. I was actually thinking Wesley, if Mike had been in it, would have beat him just from his conditioning and that. Because to me, I like to see Mike just go into bodybuilding, that type of thing. But when I saw their physique, and I think Wesley had nailed it from just the photos they put up, I had him winning if Mike had been in it. So, and is Mike going to be in the next show, or is he going to lose height, not weigh in? Something's going to happen. He's not even going to be in the show, Suki, so why even bring it up?
I mean, look, he is confirmed. He is,
he was confirmed in Ohio too. What happened?
I know. Well, look, I've got a voice from Neil, got a voice from Mike, all confident about coming to the UK. Of course, we will hope to see him at Detroit.
Are they stretching him out? Are they got him on the rack? Are they stretching him, or what's going on?
Well, I mean, look, let me throw it to you, Iain. I mean, Mike versus Wesley. Are you expecting Mike to actually make it to the stage this time in the UK?
Yeah. I mean, I would hope so. He really needs to be 100% sure he's going to make weight coming into this show. You can't have that happen again, or the optics of that is getting really bad. I mean, I think he definitely going into the show. If you're committing to that show, you want to be under the weight already going into that and really sure that you're going to make that. You don't want to leave this to like a last minute of hopefully if we pull water, do this, then we'll be good, but we're still 5 pounds over. This needs to be something you are 100% sure you're going to make. And it's tough to say what this stress and what pushing his weight down to this point where it's obviously not the comfortable place for his body is going to do to his overall look. We saw it. Look, he was still able to achieve second at the Olympia, so we can't say that Mike is someone easy to beat either way. But we did see a difference in his physique at this Olympia versus where he came second to Chris the year prior, right? It wasn't quite the same version of Mike. He was a little smaller, a little bit flatter, and that's obviously going to happen when you're pushing down that extra 6-7 pounds, whatever it is, right? So. I think it's not going to be easy for him to beat Wesley by any means. I mean, I was there at the Arnold and at Detroit and saw Wesley. He's on his game right now. He's having fun. He's hungry. He wants that redemption against Mike. So I think another couple of weeks, we will see the best Wesley for sure. I think he improved a little bit from the Arnold to here. I expect him to improve a little bit more between now and the Arnold, just, polish up a little bit. And he's just such a big presence on stage, right? Like he takes up so much space, there's so much width to his body that just takes up so much space on that stage that it's really hard to ignore a lot of these shots. But, does he lose some ground in the lower half to Mike? Absolutely. Does Mike have better legs front and back? He definitely does. So we'll see kind of what version of Mike we get on this stage with him having to push the weight down like this in a obviously a difficult fashion for him. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a good competition. I don't think we can just put Mike in as the 100% favorite here just because of his Olympia placing. I think this is going to be, a tough one for Mike to overcome against Wesley for sure.
I want to move away from Wesley, and just for one final question before I let you go, Iain. I've heard confirmation that Martin Fitzwater will be doing the UK Arnold. He's now taken himself completely off social media to fully focus on stepping on stage at the Arnold UK. Given everything that's happened, I guess you agree that this is the right thing to do to get back on stage sooner rather than later.
It's tough to say. I really don't know where Martin's mental state is now, and I think if that's what feels right to him to get back up there, we also have to assess and be honest with yourself and have a little bit of introspection of if this doesn't go my way, will I be okay with that? Where will my head be at after the show? If it doesn't go how I want it to go, will I be okay? And where will I be after that show? So, I think getting off the social media for him, whereas, the noise that's out there is probably the best thing for him to do right now. But it's, he really has to weigh out, I think the issue with him is that feeling that he gets within these losses, and the social media doesn't eliminate that within himself. That can take away the social side of it, but he was feeling this before the social media happened on stage. This occurred on stage real time, not because of social media, right? So that's obviously something in himself that I think he needs to work on. But maybe he could use this, that moment from the Arnold, and use this as a stepping stone to kind of work on how he feels in these moments. If it doesn't go his way, I hope it does. I hope we see the best Martin ever. I really hope he shows up at 1,000%, and I would love to see him win the damn show. But he needs to be prepared that if it doesn't, how am I going to be able to handle that and move forward with my career, right?
That was well said.
Lee, I'll come back to you when one moment. Lee, I know I see you on our socials. I know you are completely against all this cancel stuff going on around Martin, and you want to see him back on stage. So we are hoping that we are going to see him at the Arnold UK. I know you think this is the right thing for wanting to do to get back on stage.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's just us thinking too. It's like the whole apology to Nick. Everyone's like, should he apologise to Nick? One apology. It's up to Martin in Martin's time, not our time. So we're trying to put what we would do in Martin's frame of mind. And, people are coming down on me for supporting him. But it's almost like I told you, I've been there where when I was younger, going through the bodybuilding thing and had things happen where I was sitting there with a knife on my wrist and all that talk and all that shit. I wouldn't say encouraged me, but it was almost like it validated me cutting my wrists just from seeing all the shit out there and reading all the shit. That's why I was telling people enough's enough. Okay, what he did was bad sportsmanship. He'll apologise in his own time. But then just the way everyone's coming out, his sponsors should get rid of him, Raw should drop him and that sort of stuff. And it just kept going on and on. I'm like, okay, we've said this. And then the next day something happens and they go on again and just keep going on. It's like you're beating a dead horse here. So I'm just trying to get people to back off, because when you are in that state of mind, everyone's telling Martin what he should do, but when you're in that frame of mind, you're not thinking logically. You're not thinking that's the proper thing to do. So I hope he just gets his head clear and comes in the best we've seen him if he does it. And like Iain said, if he doesn't win, I just hope he's prepared this time to take the loss a bit better, and just maybe he'll learn from that and move on. So, but as I said, everyone's saying he should apologise to Nick and that. I'm sure he will on his own time, or maybe if he dislikes Nick that much, he probably never will. But that's not up to us. That's up to Martin and them to sort out. So I just hate everyone's giving their commentary on it and just going on and on about it. It's like, come on, let it go.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
Wendy, is that something you would agree with Lee as well? You're clapping away.
I love that take, because it's not like condoning it, but it's coming from more of like a Lee is a real athlete. He's been at the top. He knows what that feels like. Iain has been at the top. He knows what that feels like. And I think a lot of these people that are chiming in, they have no idea what kind of pressure, what these athletes really go through. And I think, the compassionate side of it doesn't condone the behavior, but it makes sense. You know what I mean?
Iain, I lied. I said I had one final question. I've actually got one more. And you probably know where this is going to go. We have to end on you, mate. The crowd was on and on and on. I heard you in the commentary like, nah, maybe later. Eventually you did. One for the guys in the front, another one for the guys in the back. Look, we're obviously seeing that you are enjoying your training as well, and we can see the progression. Fuad believes it's Detroit 2027. I mean, let's not mess about. You are going to be stepping back on stage in the future, right?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I honestly don't know. I'm not putting any like pressure or expectation on myself of like I want to be back on stage by this date. I really want to do this show. You know, I 100% want to be back on it. I have no expectations set for myself like that. It's really just, you know, going through this process and seeing, you know, look, I had a career of bodybuilding already. I've been on the other side of that, and now I'm able to kind of look back with a bit of retrospect of my career and be like, okay, what are things I would do differently, and how would I want to conduct myself, and things I would want to feel if I was doing this another time. But that doesn't necessarily mean I want or need to get back on stage to feel those things that I want to feel or do for myself, right? So if it ends up that I end up on stage, great. If I don't, I'm okay with that too. But I'm just enjoying bodybuilding again. You know, I really wasn't at the end of my career. You know, I was kind of just going through the motions, and I think, you know, the physique I brought the last like 2 shows I did really kind of were more of a reflection of where my mental state was more than, you know, where my physique was necessarily. And this is just kind of, you know, like I said, looking back with a bit of hindsight now and things that I'd like to do differently and try differently and really just how I want myself to feel during the whole process. So yeah, I don't have a good answer for you. I wish I did. You know, look, it was obviously a lot of fun, you know, being there and feeling the energy from the crowd and, you know, how excited they were for me to just hit 2 poses was obviously a lot of fun. But I don't want to sit here and say, you know, I'm doing Detroit or anything like that. I'm just, you know, enjoying the sport of bodybuilding that I love and kind of wherever that leads me, I'm okay with either way.
What do you think, Lee? Do you think we'll see Iain back on stage?
No, maybe, because, you know, when I was suspended in 06 from the IFBB, 7 years went past. I was almost going to compete here and there. It was like 2013. I decided, okay, I'm going to go do the NABBA Universe. But I was just like Iain, that whole 7 years, I was just having fun training again. And I did make the mistake that when I decided on the Universe, I did start putting pressure on myself, and it went back to that negative side. And I went, you know what, Lee? You got nothing to lose. You're an IFBB pro before. Sure, if I fail in NABBA, I'm not going to read the comments online, that's for sure. But then when I went over there, I said, you know what, I'm just going to treat it as a guest posing. So my training became fun again. I'd go hard and train, but when I wasn't at the gym, I'd go do other stuff like the car racing and this and that. And that was probably one of my best conditions, how I looked at the Universe after 7 years of not competing, because I just had fun with it. I didn't put pressure on myself. I just thought whatever it's going to be is going to be. And it took 7 years for me to get back on the stage, but I did, and, you know, won the Universe, and that was it. But I just had more fun doing it because I didn't put any pressure on myself. I just thought, you know, I'm just going to train hard, diet hard, do the cardio, and whatever happens, happens. And yeah, I think if you take that pressure off yourself and you're doing it just because you love doing it, because before you do it for your sponsors, you do it for the fans, you have all this outside pressure. But I figure I just took it back to when it's like anything, when you're a little kid, you do it just for fun. You're not looking at being an influencer, you're not looking at it to make money. You just do something because you love doing it. You know, do it with your mates. So I just went back to that sort of mind frame. Just find that little kid inside of you and just have fun doing it.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I'm at, to be honest. And you know, and I'm just going through this process and hoping that continues. You know, if my mind state can stay like this, where I keep enjoying it, and say in my mind I do pick a show at some point, I'm like, okay, you know, whether I announce or not, okay, I'm doing Detroit, and I go through that, and I start to go back to feeling how I did before, and I'm not enjoying the process. Well, then I've made up my mind of, okay, I'm not going to compete. But if I can keep going through that process and keep enjoying it, you know, just like Lee said, well, then yeah, I'll probably end up on stage. So it's really just a feeling out this process and you know, trying to remind myself of lessons learned in my career and the, you know, the hindsight I've had to, you know, have a little introspection since I retired. And yeah, just kind of seeing how it goes and having fun and enjoying the process, right?
Yeah, mate. I appreciate your time. I know you're driving, but also, are you going to be commentator at the Pittsburgh as well?
I will be, yeah.
Awesome. Iain, mate, I appreciate your time, buddy.
Awesome, guys. We'll see you.
Take care.
Bye.
So, right. Suki, are you going to FIBO, Suki?
I am, mate. Yes. I'll be.
I should be there. I should be there.
Are you going to be at Arnold UK?
No, I was going to go there, but now going to FIBO with Young LA.
You know, I've heard mad things about Young LA stand in FIBO. This is the first time I'm doing it. It's supposed to be the maddest stand yet.
It was mad. It was mad at the Arnold how big it was.
I know, but
it was a fire hazard. Literally.
That's it. I mean, apparently it's what I've heard. Big money to be spent because this is FIBO is the biggest one in the world, and they are trying to do this European takeover. So it's supposed to be off the chain. But talking about off the chain here, I can see someone else waiting in the waiting room, and I do need to add this guy in because I only asked him to join earlier today, and I have got him. I don't know if he's at a restaurant.
Wesley, what up?
He's at home.
We made it home on
restaurant. That's his home.
Here he is, King of Detroit, Wesley Vissers. Congratulations. First question I've got to ask. I know you said in your speech you always want to try and do you did Detroit last year, and obviously this year you got the win and the belt. Has the last 10 days lived up to expectations? Arnold win, getting the trophy from Arnold again, but this time as well in Detroit, you've got the belt. You're the king of Detroit.
Yeah. To be honest, we literally could not have gotten more from these days than we have. So we maximized.
I love it.
Yeah, we maximized everything. So it's always kind of a sacrifice to come from the Netherlands all the way here. It's not always the easiest thing, especially with 2 children at home. But to have everything, to have won everything we can, has made it all worth it. But yeah, that belt is really the cherry on top, because that obviously it was me against an open guy, but it was judged by the people. So I won 2 competitions judged by the judges, but also one judged by the people sitting at home and watching from the audience. So it's like the ultimate victory for me. So I'm super, super happy with it.
Oh.
Lee, we spoke a moment ago, and you were telling me about you were seeing Wesley's updates leading up to the Arnold, Ohio. How impressed you were with the condition. I mean, talk to me. What's your thoughts on what we've seen from Wesley over the past few weeks? Because of course there was a lot of excitement about seeing Wesley back on stage, because we last saw him at Detroit 2025. Yeah. We saw some pictures where he did a bit of filter where you couldn't really see his legs, and he did the whole unveil at the Arnold. He didn't disappoint. What's been your thoughts on the improvements that Wesley's made this year?
Well, I could just see from the photos he's putting up, was probably one of the best Wesleys we're going to see just from the photos he was putting online. That's why, when people were asking my predictions, I had him beating Mike. So I was disappointed that Mike didn't make it to the stage, because I wanted to see Wesley beat him on stage. But hey, Arnold UK coming around, so I still might get to see that happen. But yeah, I had him winning just from seeing those photos, because Wesley's always coming pretty good, but I've never seen him that dry in that condition before, and I think this time he just hit his peak and everything looked like it was going well. So when I was asked, I had Wesley beating Mike. That's why I was very disappointed with the weight and height and all that bullshit again. He didn't make it, so hopefully Mike will get on the UK stage. So the question for Wesley is, when's he going to go open now?
Yeah. I have a question for Lee and Wesley, actually. So Lee, you first. Let's say Mike Summerfield doesn't make it to the stage at the UK. Okay, who do you think would be Wesley's next biggest challenger aside from Mike?
I don't like the single people. I don't like the single people out, because in this sport, anyone you're up on stage with can be your next biggest challenger. Because we used to do shows back in the day, and you'd always have your mind set on, okay, it's going to be Delet or this or that. Then on the day of the show, someone you didn't even have in your mind turns up, and you're like, holy shit, he wasn't even on my radar. So the main thing you can do is I always used to do is just come into a show knowing I'd give it 100% dieting, training, everything. And then really it's out of your hands up there. Once you get on stage, that's up to the judges. That's why I dislike seeing when competitors get angry at other competitors for beating them. I'm like, it's not that competitor's fault. It's the judges that placed him there. So, if you want to get mad at someone, go talk to the judges. But, I just went on stage. I said, it's really against yourself half the time, being better than you were last time. And then, everything else is out of your hands. So that's how I used to look at it. I knew there was people in the competition, but there was no one I used to single out thinking this is going to be my main one, because everyone there was my main competition. So,
I mean, Wesley, I guess going into the UK show now, because the Arnold Ohio was very much sold on the idea of Wesley versus Mike. We saw the head-to-head picture you guys took a couple of days before the Arnolds, and now we hope we do get this matchup. But I guess for yourself, you've had 2 back-to-back wins. Are you seeing it as Wesley versus Mike, or are you seeing it as, I got full respect for the entire lineup, Andrea, Kim, those guys are going to be at Arnold UK. How are you looking at the UK show as arguably the favourite for the title?
Yeah, for sure. The reason why I'm doing Art UK is, first of all, I still have my title there as well. So it's last year I was in Art UK, so I still have my title to defend, which is also why I did the Arnold, Ohio last year, because when you have a title, I mean, you should show up and actually show up on stage to defend it, in my opinion. And Art UK, we have a lot of competition there, like Andrea, as we mentioned, we have Kim. And other than those two, we have Mike if he, if he shows up correctly. But that's the thing. We don't know what Mike is going to look like when he can weigh what his allowance allows him to be. Because we saw a little bit at the Olympia, but the Olympia was a little bit a strange one because you get 2 carb up days, and that's where all the controversy started. So I'm not even sure how that went. I didn't do the show myself. I was right there at the weigh-ins, and a lot of guys came out, came in the whole time. So I'm like, what's going on even? It's like they're so super strict. But all their heights at that moment, everybody who did the Olympia were at least set there for the entire next year. So everybody knew this. So that's what Niall knows. That's what the rest knows. So, Mike could have known this, of course. So now there's no choice for him to be at his allowed weight. And that look we haven't seen, because even if at the Olympia he had that weight, he had 2 full days to carb up for that. But now at the Art UK, you weigh in the day before, maybe even in the afternoon, because the UK Sundays is a bit different compared to Ohio weigh-in times. And then the next day at around 1 p.m., then you're on stage. So carbing up, it's not really happening, especially if you have to be in a diuresis mode or lose some water. The only thing you can do is get back a little bit what you lost, but you cannot really fill out, in my opinion, in one day, unless you're going to take some risks. And that's exactly what I think you should not do. So we're going to see what's going to happen. But for me, the whole field, as Lee said, the whole field can be a danger. I mean, Andrea is not to be underestimated. He won the Best Posing Award at the R Classic Ohio, and he knows how to pose, how to present himself. He's coached by the same coach as me. And we also are talking about Kim, who is very conditioned. And of course, you have other competitors there who you just don't know can show up at their all-time best. Pretty much like I did at the Arnold 2024 when nobody saw me coming out of the blue. So I jumped like 5-6 places, like nobody expected it. And that can happen for someone else as well. So we're going to see. But for me, I feel very healthy, happy, ready for the competition. And I always get better the more shows that I do. So we're going to see what's going to happen, but I feel very confident.
Wesley, I want to ask you this, and this is taking nothing away from the Arnold Ohio win, because you beat a fabulous Menegate. Andrea was phenomenal, took 3rd place. Kim, like you said, condition is always on point. But of course, there'll always be the asterisk where, like you said, the guy who won the title the previous year should always be there to defend his title. So there is a little asterisk where, okay, you didn't beat Mike Sommerfeld. Well, now that's why everyone's excited about the idea of Wesley versus Mike Sommerfeld. Wesley, if he's going to win the Art UK, he has to beat the guy who won Ohio last year. As a champion, do you see it that way? Do you see it as, I want to beat Mike, so at least that way I've set the record for the Arnolds. I've beaten the past champion. I don't want to win both Arnolds without beating the previous 2025 champion.
Well, let's set one thing straight. I am now the current Ohio champion,
yes,
and I am the defending UK champion. So he has to beat me. He has to prove himself now. So I have beaten everybody.
Well, okay, I just can interject really, really fast. I'm going to say Wesley has done his homework. Hearing him explain the weigh-in process, how Mike isn't going to be able to carb up, like he has fully thought this through, and he's already dominating in his head. Okay, continue.
Yeah, because also with the carb up process, like when I weighed in for both Detroit and Ohio, I already carved up for the full day. I had my breakfast, I had my water, I had my clothes on, and I just weighed in stress-free. And stress and cortisol, my coach always says, the number one enemy of your physique before you go on stage. So it's not just a physical game, it's a mental game as well. All that plays a role. But that all that aside, what I want to do is be at my very best. If I show up better than Arnold, Ohio, which I did at Detroit, and as I mentioned, every single show I get a little better, then I will be happy, because that's how I've been treating these shows. If I show up at my best, if I beat my previous self, then that's all I can do. And what the judges decide, what they like the most, that's up to the judges. But from the feedback I've received from the judges, I think if I bring the Detroit look, at least that, it's going to be, it's going to be a difficult one for other people to overcome that, because I know what I can now safely say, I know what I have in store. I won these 2 titles now. So, I like to be a humble guy, but I also am aware of the reality. And I know what kind of physique I have. I know what the Arnold likes to see. So I will be at my very best, and I'm going to make it a great show.
And if you do win, are you going to Dino's gym for a cup of tea and biscuits?
Of course. There's a tradition. I've been going to Dino since 2016 already. And every single time I'm in Birmingham, that's the gym to go to. I mean, the guy is super passionate about bodybuilding. It's he's just the best. So that's exactly where I'll be going to.
Wesley, I will ask, like, whenever I think about Arnold Classic, I think Wesley Vissers, because I know Arnold is a fan of your physique. There's so many images of Arnold giving you the trophy, how you pose, present, everything. You always know that Arnold's going to do a selfie with himself and you in the background. The Olympia is the other one. And I remember I've heard previous interviews, you've talked about the difference between Olympia and the Arnold. The Olympia, of course, you got Ramon, Dino as number 1, Sumfeld number 2, Terence 3, Jose number 4, Niall 5. Now we expect you to be at your best again, if not better, at Arnold UK. Talk to me about the Olympia 2026, where we still yet to see Wesley hit the big one in the top placings. We all know how great Wesley Vissers is. We've seen it time after time at the Arnold Classic. Do you think this is the year where not only we are going to have seen it at the Arnold, but we're also going to see it in Vegas at the Olympia?
Yes, I really do think this is the year. And there's a few reasons, but the number 1 reason, I now know how to be consistent before a show, how to let stress fade away, to use the situation to my advantage, because when you go to the Olympia, it's very different from the Arnold. The Olympia wants to make it a show. So they kind of use the athletes, for example, the press conference before, you've got the meet and greet, you've got a lot of things to do beforehand. And if you don't prepare for this with your meals, with your timing, it can stress you out. That happened to me in the 2024 Olympia, where we were told, for example, okay, the press conference is at this time, you got to be on stage for this long. Well, let's just say it took a few hours longer, and I did not prep for this properly. So it's both parties' fault, but I should have prepped better. So I was there like super depleted, stressed, like waiting, when is it going to be over? It wasn't a good situation, and every single day it kind of piled up like this. And with the pressure also after winning the Arnold of people expecting me to go against Chris, it just wasn't a good headspace I was in. And the prep itself was also in this kind of mindset. So, however, now I know how to be really myself, how to be my own best. And me and my coach, we learn every single time. And I think this period after the Arnold UK is going to be very important for me. The lesson is, for me, less is more. When the Olympia comes up, usually I like to be better and better and better than I was before. But sometimes when I'm at the Arnold, Ohio, when I was at Detroit, and how I'll be at the Arnold UK, this can already be enough for me to show up exactly like this at the Olympia, of course, with a little bit of muscle here and there, without thinking, oh, I got to be more conditioned, I got to be drier, I got to get those striations in the glutes, because I know what the other guys have and what I don't have, but I also know the other way around, what they don't have and I do have. So I got to play on my strengths, and that is to bring that full dominant physique. When I stand next to somebody, your eyes are drawn to that physique of mine. And that is going to be the goal, without trying to mimic what others have, because that doesn't work for me. So me and my coach, we have truly figured out the formula for me this year. And one big aspect is just to cruise into the show and not make it too complicated, and not overstress myself thinking I got to be the best version in every possible way. Just be Wesley Vissers at your own best without trying to be like the others. So I think that's going to be my formula to be in that top call out, because I've never been in the top 5 before at the Olympia. We always call it like the curse, because every time the shows go so well before, and then we go to the Olympia, and I just don't.
How many
make
Olympians
it,
have you?
My
How
best
many Olympians
placing-
have you done now?
Sorry?
How many Olympias have you been in now?
6.
6. Okay. What's your bet?
Yeah.
What's your highest placing so far?
7th,
Yeah,
and that was the placing 2023 before I won the Arnold 24. So that was a nice momentum, because it was the first time I got into the first call out with 7 guys. I was like, whoa, this is finally I'm in the same call out as Chris, as Ramon, as Urs, as Brian, like the top guys. So I really felt taken serious, and that was for me very important. And now that I won these shows again, and I hear what the judges have to say, I hear their feedback, the little things I can improve, and I can work on this in between the Arnold UK and the Olympia. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to try to do too much, because if I do too much, the word already said it, it's going to take away from what people have now seen. I need to be there at my own best. So I need to beat myself and not the others. And that's for me the formula to really make it an interesting show.
Lee, I'm going to ask you this. I'm not going to ask Wesley this. I'm not going to put Wesley in this position. But as fans, we always like to do comparisons with like the Olympia Classic Physique winner and the Arnold Classic Physique winner. It's only standard because they're the 2 biggest shows, and we like to then look at the 2. When you look at like Dino, the Olympia winner, and now we look at Wesley Vissers, the Arnold Classic winner, how close do you have these 2?
Pretty close, but looking at Wesley, how he looked at the Arnold in Detroit and what I've seen at Dino in the past, I'll probably give the nod to Wesley, but that's just because I like his physique and his conditioning and stuff. And it's true what Wesley said. I'd always tell young kids all the time, like, it was like, how much do you bench? How much do you this? I said, look, in bodybuilding and whatever you do in classic or whatever, I said, yes, you got to be strong physically, but the strongest thing you're ever going to use in this sport is up here in your head. If you haven't got it up there, strong up there, you're not going to, and that's in any job in life. But I just find sometimes people overthink things. You know, I never did peak weeks. I just went into the show looking how I looked because I didn't want to change anything. But if you can control what's up there, you're going to do very well, because, you know, we all question ourselves. We can look in the mirror and look 100% 2 weeks out. And a week gets close, you're like, well, maybe if I just do this and if I just do that, you're generally going to fuck it up. If you look good 2 weeks out, don't change a thing. I used to just maybe cut my water out a little bit and put tan on, and that was it. I never did carb loading, because we see it so many times. Someone 2 weeks out looks fantastic. On the day of the show, you're like, what happened? And generally you start overthinking shit, because I remember 2 weeks out from a show, I'd be like, I wish the show was today. I'm ready today. The day before the show, I'm like, I wish they had 2 more weeks. It's like, it's all a head game. It's all a head game. So if you can control this, and like I said, you know, make peace with the voices in your head, it's better than going to war with them. So, you know, because like I said, those voices can lead you astray when you start questioning stuff all the time.
Wesley, last question on Olympia. I know you mentioned there about like, getting that first call out. We all know we've not seen the best Wesley at the Olympia yet. So I'm kind of compare the past Olympias. I'm comparing what we know now, and now we're starting to see the best ever Wesley, which has got everybody losing their minds at the Arnold Classic and Detroit, which is why everybody was excited. I imagine the majority of the 150,000 views on Fuad's channel watching Detroit was because they want to see Wesley Vissers on stage. I want to ask, in my eyes, seeing the best Wesley Vissers is 100% a contender for the Olympia title. Is that something you believe?
Yes, it's something I 100% believe.
You just give me
It's
chills.
it's also based a little bit in the past. The thing is that's different now is I already beat the winner of the Miss Olympia before. That has never happened before in my career because the winner was Chris Bumstead. So I could never have said, "Oh, I know what it's like to beat him. I know which points I had over him." And the moment I beat Ramon was a very different Wesley from now. Of course, Ramon made improvements as well, but I dare say that the difference between the Ramon who I beat and the different and how he looks now is smaller than the difference between me who beat him and me now. So that
Ooh.
comparison already tells you a little bit what I think could happen. But at the end of the day, I still have to bring it. Ramon has to bring it, and who knows? You have a Niall Darwin coming, maybe a Hosema again. You have Ralph Diesel, who's skipped the Arnold to be better for the Olympia. So again, like Lee said back a few minutes ago, you never know how they're going to show up. So I take all of them serious. Niall Darwin did a guest posing at Detroit, and he looked insane. I saw him backstage, just standing there with his round, bubbly muscles. So I know exactly what these guys are capable of. So that's why I keep repeating, I'm just going to be my own self, my own best, and that's all I can do. But yes, I do think if I am my best and I stand there in the first call out, I'm going to really stand out in some poses which are going to be undeniable. And I'm going to do my best in every single pose to of course, beat everybody. And I keep working my presentation to really be an ambassador and to really embrace, okay, this is classic bodybuilding, this is classic physique, this is what the people want to see, and this is kind of igniting that fire in the judges when they see that physique. Oh, wait a second, if this guy wins, it's just right, it fits, and that's what I want to create on that Olympia stage as well. So yeah, it's going to be a great journey. I'm very passionate. I love the sport, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
What is your superpower? What do you feel makes your physique stand out among everyone else? Like, tell me.
I always say, like, you have physiques that stand there, and when they do a pose, they kind of remain the same, but they just stand differently. Like you know, when I do a frontal bicep, they just are still the same physique, but they just stand in a frontal bicep position. When I do a pose, I transform and I open up like unexpectedly. So when I stand like this, okay, he looks good, but when I do a frontal bicep, I become twice as wide. And that is a different aspect about a physique that only you can see when you stand next to somebody doing the same pose, and where I expose like sometimes the width of other guys that simply they don't have, or the height, or the space they take up on stage. All these little things together, I think, could really expose some guys. And bodybuilding is also about being, of course, always striving for perfection, but not just be aesthetic, but also have like the X factor. Like some body parts, they, in my opinion, have to stand out to truly be a champion. You can't, you know, it's kind of, in my opinion, quite kind of boring if you're like the perfect proportionate bodybuilder and you're number one. Okay, there's no weak points, but that means there's also no strong points, really. It's just balanced. I want to be some poses to be like shocking to the public. When you do a frontal bicep, they're like, whoa, what's that? And that's the feeling I have when I watch Arnold Schwarzenegger do some of those poses. You're like, those classic poses where you're like in awe of what it looks like the thick chest, the arms, the biceps, the back, just how it all fits together. And that's really every single year my goal, to be better at presenting my physique in that way, which is something you simply have or you don't. And I'm trying to show people that I have it, and and when you don't have it, you don't hit it.
Wesley, look, I asked for 10 minutes of your time. I've taken 25 minutes, and there you are, busy. I can see the bags behind you. I just want to say this, Wesley, mate, because you talk about being, you want to be a great ambassador for the sport, and I think we all agree 110%. You're exactly that. A moment that I remember from the Arnold Classic in Ohio was when Andrea Mamoli got announced in third place, and your reaction to it, because I know how happy you were to see Andrea get recognized by the judges for his physique, and obviously how he embraced you, because that was such a pivotal moment for this young man's career. I guess you see great future for Moh.
Yeah, for sure. I trained with him a few days before we both went on stage. First of all, he's such a nice guy. I vibe well with humble personalities who just love the sport, and whatever happens, they always stay in their lane. And I know Andrea, let's say he becomes a champion of the Arnold or the Olympia, he will never show an ego side about him. He will always be a humble guy and also be a great ambassador because he has that potential. He won the Best Posing Award. He won third place. So I told him, you can have 2 prizes in one evening now, which you really deserve. Even before, because I wanted to also win the posing award, but I was like, if anybody else deserves it, it's going to be Andrea, because I saw how much passion he puts into his posing, the presentation. You could see in his mimic that he really practiced the posing. So he put effort into it. I'm like, if anybody deserves this prize, it's going to be him. And then also it was a battle between him and Kim. And to see him beat Kim, that was also third at the Arnold for your Arnold debut is incredible. That's I was 10th in 2019, so he's a young guy and just very passionate about the sport, very humble again, and yeah, he really deserves everything he gets thrown to his way in a positive manner. So for sure, I'm very happy for him.
Wesley, really do appreciate you jumping here 24 hours after becoming King of Detroit. What a trip back you got to the Netherlands with the Arnold trophy, a big Arnold check. You got another check for Detroit. You got the trophy and the belt. Congratulations. I know the UK fans, the European fans are all going to be so excited to see you at the Arnold UK, because it's back after 2 years, but also back on Arnold Classic UK stage on Friday night.
Oh yes, and Arnold UK, I view it as this is my home. This is my home competition. It's not even an hour flying from me, same time zone. I know the area very well. I know the gyms. I've even exhibited at the NAC where the Arnold will be. It feels like, okay, people are coming now to where I am at my best. So it's going to be a very interesting one. And it just feels like such a nice way to end this season for me before the Olympia. It's going to be super exciting. And again, it's the live stream. Trust me, guys, you want to watch that live stream. It's going to be an amazing show. The quality will be just as high as Arnold, Ohio, if not higher. Arnold will be there as well. I mean, everything will be incredible. So it's going to be worth the watch.
He's in the zone. He's in the zone.
That's it. Wesley, thank you again for your time, mate. Have a safe trip back home.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Best of luck in your job.
All right. I'm so happy to manage to get Wesley Vissers 24 hours after Detroit. You know what? Going away from all this, Lee, there's been a question on my mind that I've been meaning to ask you. I was supposed to ask you.
Why did I get the face tattoo?
Nah, something else. Was this bullshit? Were you taking a piss? Last year, you did a post of you renewing your IFBB Pro card.
Yes.
Was that legit?
I renewed it. Yes, I got my Pro card. Yes.
And of course,
I was really just doing it because they put out that thing where if you don't renew it, you have to redoing this. I figured I'll go online and do it. I didn't know it was all automated. I thought you would have had to write an email, so I was just doing it. I was over there with Giles at the time, early last year, doing the tour. I said, let's just see if I can get my Pro card. So I was just filling it out, filled out all the information. I got to the payment part. I went, oh, okay, paid it. And the next thing I know, you have your Pro card now. Of course, it's all automated.
He's a rule follower. Hello, we all know that.
Yeah. And because it's all automated, I would have loved to see maybe the IFBB's face the next day when they went, what the fuck? Who got my Pro card back? And actually, I saw Weinberger at the Olympia when I was at the New Tech stand, and I think Weinberger's like, are you still talking crap, Lee? I said, Steve, I only tell the truth in that. I said, but you did see I got my Pro card back, didn't you? He goes, yeah, I saw it. And I said, I only got it back so you can suspend me again at some point.
So there's no plan in potentially ever stepping on stage just one more time?
Because I'm sort of like in the same situation for Whitey's. When won the universe in 2013. I was going to compete in 2015, 2014. I just had the year off promoting NABBA and the universe, but then sadly, stupid exchange student from France T-boned me and crushed the nerves in my neck, so I had to get 2 neck operations. So I got a bit of atrophy on this part of my chest and tricep and that, which if I died it down, would probably be noticeable. If this side looked like that side, I would come out and compete again, because, you know, I still think right now I'm still sitting around 235 pounds and I'm still carrying a good amount of muscle. But like I said, it's mainly on this side. So maybe I can do half and half. I can do open bodybuilding this side and men's physique on this side. Or maybe bikini on one side. And hey, you can do anything these days. Men can have babies. So I might go in bikini or women's physique.
Saw him in person. He still looks amazing. So
it's just the lighting in the expo halls. That's what I tell people. They're like, man, you still look good. I said, it's just the lights. When you see me outside, you'll be like, what a bag of shit.
And look, before we finish off as well, Lee, one person I want to go into Olympia. Andrew Jack is now the Arnold Classic champion. Derek is still a defending champion. Hardy has shut it down until the Olympia, so he's still going to be in Vegas come Olympia weekend. Samson is on a mission to get his,
putting the weight on.
he's let his body grow, and we could see the biggest ever Samson, hopefully matched with some gnarly condition as well. With all this happening as well, with people who have been previous Olympic champions or the current Olympic champion, or even some people who've not Olympic champion, but they are seen as the guy to beat. Who do you see as the man to beat?
It's hard to say, because like the last Olympia, even though Derek won, and, you know, my eyes were always drawn to Hardy and Andrew in that lineup, you know, because Andrew just has that freaky cartoon-looking physique, like an X-frame and that. So if he can come in with a bit more size and conditioned, you know, I think Derek is going to have to come in his best, because, like I said, these guys are improving, and yeah, Derek's sort of improving too. But I don't know, compared to some of these other guys, your eyes just get drawn to them. So it's going to be a tough contest. And Samson, look, he's got a great physique. He's got the size there. His main thing is just that conditioning. So if he hits it 100%, yeah, he can win it again. But if he's a little bit off, you know, between any of those guys, Hardy, Derek, Samson, Andrew, and even Nick, any of those guys, they've only got to slip a little bit, you know, and then someone's going to move right in there. So I think that's what makes it exciting compared to the old days of Ronnie, where, okay, Ronnie's won, who's second and third and that. I think now, because you don't know who the clear winner is, it makes it more fun going to the Olympia. So I think it's going to be a good show. Like we say, 100, but even I feel bad sometimes too, because even at Detroit, I mean, not Detroit, the Arnold, you know, Brendan Curry, I thought he might have placed a bit higher. For some reason, he gets overlooked a lot, but he's still got great shape. He still comes in the conditioning and always comes in polished. So I don't know why, whether he's just getting older, or is it just people just like looking for the new ones coming up. But I still think sometimes Brandon gets overlooked in a few of his placings when he comes in with the top conditioning he does. So, you know, even like I said, I could have maybe seen him place a bit higher at the Arnold Classic, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, sometimes I just don't think he gets his just desserts, you know, because like I said, he never comes in looking that off, and he looks great. So whether it's just like the judges think he's had his time, is it? I don't know what it is, but I think he should place a bit higher at some shows, Brandon. So, and
what about Nick Walker? Because the feedback I've seen from Tyler's review, and I did an interview with Steve Weinberger the other day, it's still in regards to the breathing, you know, controlling the stomach from the side, the front poses. They prefer the most muscular to have both hands on the hips rather than one hand. They feel like if he managed to work on that, I
think that's all it is. Yeah. I know a few people have even, was it Terrence put out, he would help him with his, because that's all it really is. Because when Nick was controlling his stomach, his waist looked great. When he's standing there and it's all tight, it looked great. It's only, like I said, in the transitions or just moving on stage where you're not thinking about it, you just breathe out a bit and click, 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 go to cameras, and everyone's like, look at the waist on him. But yet, when he did control it, you couldn't pick a finger wrong with it. So whether that's what cost him the win, if he had controlled it through the whole of prejudging, we might have seen a different outcome there. So, you know, I think he'll probably learn to do it. You know, there's so many people out there who are good posers, and even Chris Cormier, I say, you got Terrence, you got me. Like, there's so many guys out there, even a great old training partner of mine who's a fantastic poser, and that was Rusty Jeffers. He's got a thing out on that. You get people like that who can just teach him to control and hold in. I think he'll do a lot better. And like I said, maybe if he had it held in like he did when he might have come away as an Arnold Classic winner, because you have to look at him up there. He does probably the best Nick we've seen condition-wise, mass-wise and stuff like that. The only thing was when his stomach relaxed. So if he can control that, well, he can win probably a lot of big shows.
I mean, Wendy, who do you see as the front runner in the men's open?
Well, right now, I think Andrew. I think Andrew, he came out, and I think Wesley's off now, but he was talking about how, being a totally complete package is good if you're perfect, but, having to have that one stand-up body part. I think with Andrew, when he steps on stage, he has that wow factor, and I think he's kind of been slowly like working his way up the ranks. Every time we see him on stage, he's just like a little bit more impressive. He's a little bit better. And now he's sitting here with the Arnold title. So I think a lot of eyes are going to be on him. I agree with Lee. I thought Hottie was a shoo-in for the title in the 2025 Olympia. So I didn't see that coming, where Derek ended up winning. I had Derek in third, actually. I had Hottie in first.
You Peter.
Whatever you want to call it, I don't know. I mean, I'm just calling it like I see it. I thought Hottie, I saw Andrew, and I saw and I saw Derek at third. And then I knew that Nick Walker was off. So anytime Nick Walker is off, I feel like it gives him this crazy fire. And next time we see him on stage, he's always incredible. And I was always like that too when I competed. It's like if I had an off competition, that would always give me the fire to come back even stronger. So Nick has to be on. He has to be his absolute best conditioning, because he can't battle it out on his shape and his symmetry and his lines, right? But Andrew is really we're starting to see the potential ceiling of Andrew come to fruition every time he comes on stage. I feel like he's the one that we're all going to be watching for at the Olympia this year. And if he comes in with a little bit more muscle on his legs, a little bit more size, and he can keep that waist tiny, he's going to wow everyone even more than he did in Ohio, I think.
And I was just surprised after the Arnold why Nick didn't go to Detroit, or why a lot of guys did.
Yeah. Me too. I know.
I know people are going to hate to hear it. Back in my day, we used to do the Ironman a week later, the Arnold a week after that, to San Francisco. And it's like Wesley said, after doing the Arnold and going to Detroit, I always found myself, even the more shows I did with only a week apart, you actually got better. So whether, some guys could be using weird hocus pocus and can mess up, but if you're sticking just to a pretty good diet and doing the same thing day in, day out, you get better as you do more shows. So I was surprised a few more didn't go from the Arnold to there. And even Nick, that could have been a easy qualification for Nick to go to the Olympia type thing. So it's disappointing when you see guys, like I said, at the Arnold, and when there's a show a week later where you can make extra money or just go out and compete, because that's what you do. Some guys do one show, I can't do anymore. It's like, you lazy fuck, come on. It's like,
yeah, I remember speaking through it about this, and obviously the idea of having the show so close to the Arnold is the fact that it's an easy one for people to jump in.
It is.
They originally had Menegate was doing the Arnold Classic, the Detroit Pro. They would have gone against Wesley again, but he had to pull out. Anthony Williams, who did the Arnold Classic, he had to pull out. Off those hopes that people like Nick Walker, Rafa Brandau, I mean, no reason why he couldn't have jumped in, because he did beat Moh Foda, I believe, at the last show. I know Brandon Curry is already Olympia qualified, but of course the big one was how close Mike Sommerfeld was to compete at Detroit. I imagine if that was the case, Wesley vs Mike at Detroit,
how did that mess up? I saw a bit of it on the show. I think I was flying on the plane when I was watching. It wasn't about where he had to go see his coach first and ask his coach, and then it's like you could have called Neil rather than fly all those hours to see him. You could have called him, but it's like it's a week out and you've done all that work, and like you'd be disappointed that you couldn't do the Arnold I'll be going in the very next show because I've dieted down. I've gone through all this hard work, made the sacrifices. If there's a show a week later, I would have been caught up for it and say, I would have been that weekend that the Arnold spoke to Neil and said, hey, I'm doing your show next weekend. There wouldn't have been waiting to the last minute because you can't compete at the Arnold and there's a show the following week. And like I said, you've done all the hard work. Come on, it's a no-brainer. Just do it.
Well, look, I think the main thing is all of this we've forgotten. As long as we get Mike at the Arnold UK on stage next to Wesley Vissers, that is what everybody wants to see. The 2025 winner versus the 2026 winner. We get that, and that'll also be a big indicator of how far Wesley has come. That if he is able to beat Mike at the Arnold Classic stage, then we can legitimately talk about Wesley being a contender to go up against Ramon Dino come at Olympia weekend.
I can see him beating Mike at the Arnold UK because, like I said, his head's in the right frame. It's almost like his hometown advantage. You got the crowd there. Like I said, when you're relaxed like that in your mind and you haven't got the worries of stuff, it makes a huge difference in how you look on stage. So Wesley's in a good headspace. So I think Mike's gonna have a tough job going up against him at Arnold UK.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be absolutely fun, guys. That is a wrap for today. As always, my co-host Wendy, thank you so much for your time. Even though I know you're struggling today, our guest co-host Lee Priest, we finally got him on, and of course our other guests Wesley. And of course, Iain talking about the Detroit. We'll be back next week. As always, guys, please like, subscribe, drop a comment. Let me know what other guests you would like us to have. Or maybe we should just keep Lee Priest on. Maybe we need to keep Lee Priest every single week. So just let us know in the comments below. Cheers, guys.
Depends how long you want your channel to stay up for.